Okay, now we're live. Excited to talk about today's content. We're going to be digging into email marketing specifically. If you're a private practice owner, solo or group practice, email marketing can be one of the most effective way to get long term success from your list. There's a couple kind of preemptive steps before we talk about email marketing. We're going to kind of unpack what it is. We're going to talk about the content that drives really great results for private practice owners when we talk about sending emails out as a private practice. And then we're going to give you a couple steps on what platforms to use, things to look out for, cost, all of that fun stuff. And I think when we talk about this age of marketing, the big caveat that I'll give is as you go from new sources of marketing, you're on the listing sites, you have a website, maybe you're running an ad, you're kind of checking the boxes of just getting basic existing marketing up and running. Things like email marketing are the next steps to go above and beyond that to both make what you already do more performative and more successful, but also just have a more advanced strategy that gets your practice better results. So that's what we're here for today.
Yeah, I think the way I like to see it is uh, your normal marketing channels like your ads or your directories is like the 0 to 1. You have to prove that there's something there, and then the email marketing is like the 1 to 10. So if you aren't at 1 yet, maybe email marketing isn't the place to start. I think it'll take you longer than you want. It's kind of like an SEO type situation. It'll take you really long. It's going to be like grinding gears. You aren't going to know what's
Right.
working or not. So keep that in mind. And I think, we can go ahead and jump right in. We had an awesome newsletter guest this week, Michael Fulweiler. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
writing this newsletter. It was really kick butt. And we're going to kind of look at a little bit of what he wrote and a little bit of what we think too. And I think the first point that he makes here is that email is an owned audience. So these are people that you have access to. These are people who've interacted with you, and these are people who have, um, at least had a touch from your brand. When you go into the grocery store and you've never drank that weird new drink, but you've drank Coke a million times, you might be more inclined to just grab a Coke instead of that weird new drink. And so having a little brand recognition is always helpful, and it's going to help you out. And so having this audience of people that you consistently speak to is a great way to kind of continue the conversation and build more equity in their mind, and
Yeah.
build equity in their mind when they're thinking about who to refer their friend out to, build equity in their mind about who is a helpful resource in the community. And so owning this list, you don't necessarily generate the list from email marketing. You usually have to get people onto a list from advertising or other platforms. Essentially, yeah, there's a great visual to pull up. So getting someone onto the list is the first step, but once someone's there and once you have a consistent method for creating that list, email marketing is just the next best segment for you. And you own it. You can always tap into your subscribers. You can always send them more messages. And this is one of those elements in business. Not everything is cumulative, but email marketing is cumulative, right? The longer you're in business, the bigger your list is, the more people that you can talk to on a consistent basis, which means the more potential clients you can see on a consistent basis.
Yeah. I think from the start, when the marketing segment is just those basic steps. It's what drives your potential therapy clients down the funnel. There's lots of different terms that all the different industries use. In this case, we're just saying, marketing gives you the opportunity to nurture your list. I think a lot of therapy practices are used to marketing and then people directly convert. And so they don't spend a lot of time. As a practice owner, you don't spend a lot of time, energy thinking about this nurture component of things. They hit your website, they give you a phone call, and you convert them. And so I think where email marketing, text message marketing, we're just looking at a longer process that is needed if you want to convert more of the people that come to you, because not everyone's going to be able to purchase right now. And I would say there are probably three segments: people who look at your brand or they fill out your form or whatever it is, and for whatever reason, they can't afford it. Now's not a good time. Their insurance changed. Their spouse didn't want to sign up. There's something that kept them from converting right now. I'd say next to that are those that they kind of get lost in the buyer's decision. So there wasn't anything stopping them from making a purchase to start therapy. They just didn't actually like complete the action. And so those individuals also need to be nurtured and marketed to, so that way they can maybe come back to the top of the decision tree and say, oh, maybe I do want to restart therapy. And then the last pool of people that are really important are those either current clients or especially past clients who therapy for different reasons or similar reasons after they exited might want to restart. You think of the big population drop-off that happens at springtime into summer, which we're about to enter into. Email marketing can be one of the best ways to reactivate that list, stay top of mind, send reoffers on products or new deliverables, or fill out new clinicians. This is what can drive great results for your practice.
Yeah, I'll add to that as well. I think in a low profit space like private practice, maybe some of you guys don't want to hear it, but this is a low profit space compared to some other businesses out there. We need to do our best to squeeze the juice as much as possible from the money that we've already spent. And this is exactly what email marketing is doing. It's the recycling, not in a spammy or hurtful way, in a valuable, interesting way to stay top of mind and to build a relationship and continue a conversation with people.
Let's talk
So
about what type of content is needed to actually have success with email marketing. I think we can walk through at least three different types of buckets here. We'll talk about immediate nurture. So as soon as someone gets on your list, marketing to send them continuously. We'll talk about newsletter marketing specifically, and we can talk about reactivation and then anything else that we come up with along the way. Attilio, as soon as someone, let's say, sees the ad, fills out the website form, maybe even books a consult off of the website automatically, but they've expressed interest of some kind, you have their email. Tell us more about the type of email marketing and content we could be sending those people that are still in sort of the buying immediate decision tree of getting on the list.
yeah, so this is like a classic nurturing sequence email. Like this is anywhere from 5 to maybe 12 emails where you can introduce yourself, you can tell your story or your practice's story. You can do like client spotlights or client problems that have come in and they found resolutions. So you can give little stories. You can make special offers. You can provide content or resources. So like, you know, the 3-step checklist, if you're a couples counselor, the 3-step checklist to know that your narcissistic partner is harming you or something, whatever is maybe a common problem. Talk about problems, talk about resolutions, talk about buyer decision questions and why people decided to work with you, despite maybe not originally wanting to or thinking that that was the best decision, but it ended up being the right decision. So this is maybe popular for like cash practices where insurance is like the knee-jerk reaction, but maybe the person just isn't educated on why maybe being a cash clinician or cash provider may be of benefit to them. You know, you can do things outside of the scope of insurance. You can do things sort of in your own vein and work towards, you know, don't let the insurance companies run the sessions, you know, however you want to spin it, whatever your clients are maybe representing as something that's maybe helpful. And so providing those types of emails every few days when someone first opts in is just a great way to build a little bit of equity, not be too maybe like invasive for them, because these should all be valuable, right? This isn't like, hey, just following up. I wanted to check in. That hurts to hear or say. And so if you're providing some value, providing resources, and just kind of being like open, honest, candid, and telling sort of stories, I think you'll be well received, and there's a higher likelihood that people will click a button or engage a second time, and
Yeah.
then you know that you need to reach out, right?
And I think two other ways to put this type of nurture content, we could call it, you could do it through story-based content. So, hey, let me tell you about an old client named Sally, right? And then you tell, change names, Sally's story, the results she had with EMDR or whatever it is. People like stories. Each email could be a story. Another way to put it, Michael Fulwild put it this way, zero click emails, meaning you aren't requiring them to click into something else or go off screen. All of the value is just right there as soon as they open the email. And that can be really helpful and effective. To show you kind of the guts of what one of these might look like, I built this inside of our Therapy Flow CRM, and this is the marketing that I do for therapists. I'm big on just kind of revealing the, pulling back the shades of what happens here is once a day, every day for a couple days, there's just a new email that sends out. People can unsubscribe if they don't want to get more of these emails, but each one of these is hitting on a different important point that I know. So I'm telling Ilona's story on how she went to 20K a month as a solo practice cash pay therapist inside of our program. One email is just like, hey, here's the program details you want. Another email is giving them sort of a try before they fully buy option with some testimonials and other things. But it's that string of things that you can build in a lot of different email platforms. This one's just with our own Therapy Flow CRM that you can make happen to really string some good, strong email marketing together. Let's talk a little bit about newsletter based marketing as well. This is where you aren't doing as much like marketing emails where you're trying to hit a particular person right after they opt in, but this is generally like a big value-driven, content-driven based email that you're sending out weekly or monthly or quarterly. Those would be the typical rhythm. Some people will do it more often than that, but those would probably be the three that I recommend. And there's so much you can do inside of just a newsletter or weekly email. But the biggest thing is it is an excuse in a good way to just deliver good value content to people on a semi-consistent basis that they will actually open and read without it being all call to action. Hey, buy my stuff. We have a new counselor available or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think of this as like the top of mind email. This is like this would go out to people who have maybe not rescheduled. This is something that goes out to uh, people who had a great experience with you. This goes out to people, in all segments, I would say.
Yeah.
And the idea is you just continue a conversation, you continue to put your name up front, you continue to provide something of value, and to maybe give you some perspective on how to maybe do this, put a rhythm in place that you can commit to, but don't overcommit um, if you don't have the valuable material there to be able to send out. And so if you can't come up with something maybe creative or something that's going to be very helpful in a once a month rhythm, maybe move it to quarterly, or move it to, I don't know if I would do semi-annual. I don't know how helpful that would be, or annually, but try to have some kind of consistent rhythm that you're sticking to, and think about how to generate material that may be useful for any segment. You don't have to speak to all of your audience all at once. It could be just some like mindset things, or it could be some maybe you're like a faith-based practice, and you're sending out something that's maybe faith-based to the audience that you um, serve. So like little things
Right.
like that could be helpful, or just little messages of hope, or little messages of whatever you find may be helpful or useful for your organization. For those of you who are like women focused, maybe it's like something very women focused, whatever that may be. Maybe you have a certain twist in your practice, like lean into those elements. So keep that in mind. This is all about consistency. This is all about brand awareness. This is all about continuing the conversation.
I think with newsletters, I write a weekly newsletter, and it's been incredibly successful component of our business, and the therapist that I've maybe convinced is the best word to commit to it. Two things are really true. No single email is the success point. You can write a crappy email, you can write the best email in the entire world, and it matters, but it doesn't matter for that specific email because you have success over a 6-month, 12-month, multi-year time frame for email marketing because it's the long-term nurture of a list. I was on a call just a couple of days ago, and the one therapist was like, "Yeah, I was on your email newsletter for years before I joined." It's like, great. Took me like 2 years of emailing that person before they became a client, but that happens every single time I send out an email. Is someone that was on the list 2 years ago, gets back on the calendar and signs up. The same is true for your therapy practice. And so don't definitely be short-sighted about the results. Don't do it for a month and be like, "Oh, I didn't get any clients this month." This is something for you and your team to stay committed to for the next year, for the next 3 years. And that rhythm is going to be really helpful. One of the things as we talk about newsletters that I also want to show is we get a lot of questions of like, great, where do I do? What do I build it? How do I manage that list? Therapy Flow provides a HIPAA compliant CRM that has a bulk email sender and a drag and drop visual email builder to send newsletter. It's what I use every week to send my own newsletter out to a large list. And it's something that a lot of the practices that we work with, where you can just drag and drop different buttons, pieces of content, add in images in a pretty simple way. You can do things like image sliders, you can do text, so you can really make it whatever you want. And you can just hit the send or schedule button and send to the list that you have inside of your CRM. You can pull out your simple practice list. You can upload it directly into the CRM and send newsletter to the entire list that way. So there's a lot of options here for just a quick, fast visual way to create a newsletter, use that template over and over again, and send it to your list week after week. We can do some more trainings on content and how to use, the email builder specifically another time. But I just wanted to point it out. If you're looking for a pretty simple and HIPAA compliant way to run a newsletter or do email marketing, that's why we have the CRM available to the practices that we work with. And then in terms of kind of reactivation campaigns, which would maybe be the last big content type, this is where on certain occasions, quarterly, semi-annually, annually, it can be really helpful to send a bulk campaign to your entire list about new offers, new deliverables, new signups, in order to just try and get people back on the calendar. We're talking post-Christmas, New Year, Black Friday. The stuff that you guys see all the time is the marketing emails, right, from a company saying, "Hey, buy our stuff." Those work, those are helpful, and you can use them for your practice too.
Yeah, I think what's nice is that really the biggest like interest drop. There's only one big interest drop if you look on Google Trends for therapists, and that's like the week in between uh Christmas and New Year's is like a huge drop for therapist searches. And then other than that, it's pretty consistent. And so don't get discouraged, guys. Go out there, email some peeps on your list. I think if it wasn't clear, I do just want to double hit on like what's normal here, maybe some spam laws and a few other things. So spam laws really come in if people have not opted in or explicitly given you um, permission to send them commercial emails. So if someone opts in to your practice, like saying that they want to possibly work with you, these are people that you can work with, and these are people that you can continue to email. So you won't get spammed or blocked if you're not spamming or blocking them, right? Or you're not sending spammy emails, right? If you're sending valuable content, people will love to receive your material. So I wouldn't feel uncomfortable about that, even if it feels a little uncomfortable at first. If you've never done email marketing, you might be like, I don't want to be spammy. I promise you're not spammy. We've worked with a lot of companies, sent a lot of emails. Try your best to be valuable. And as long as you're not sending 2 or 4 emails a day or more, you won't be considered spammy, right? If you're doing something every other day, It's totally within reason. It's totally normal. It's just kind of how this world works. We have a lot of split attention on things, right? Everybody's busy going through lots of other elements inside of their life, and we're not working with referrals who are literally electing to show up at that moment. If you think about how a referral works, they've handled all of this apprehension already, and then they elect to reach out. Whereas the people who may be on your list maybe have not handled all the apprehension before they commit to the reach out. And so being a little considerate of where someone's at, we can kind of take that into consideration with these emails, helping people with their apprehension before they actually elect to fully commit to working with you. And so with that being said, send people emails. Don't worry too much about like spamming them. I think you'll know when you are spamming people. If you are, I don't think any of us have intent to spam people. And so you'll probably be safe. Last note here is the normal rhythms in the first 5 to 10 days that someone pops in onto your list. So the first 10 days that they elect, really, I wouldn't be afraid to email them every day or every other day.
Yeah.
That's when they're hottest. That's when they've just elected or raised their hand for you to reach out to them. And so it's totally normal to reach out with that frequency when they first opt in. With that being said, if you have a lot of people who are opting out of your emails, maybe that just means you need to change your content in those first 10 days. After maybe the first 1 to 2 weeks there, the 10 days, maybe move to like weekly touches or monthly touches, right? That's where they go onto your newsletter. So just kind of spread it out, be tactful of where they're at maybe in their process or how they've just came in. And you'll do a great job at building a list instead of crashing a list. And you definitely won't be marked as spam if you have the normal unsubscribe links and you're providing great content.
I don't think we talk about subject lines, but when we're doing email marketing, that's a really important piece of all of this. I think there's 3 ways you can take these subject lines that are very literal. So let's say you send someone an appointment confirmation. The subject line can be appointment confirmation. Sometimes those don't get clicked on or clicked through because like, oh yeah, that's my appointment confirmation. And then it just sits there, right? And someone doesn't open it. So we just have to be aware of, does the subject line prompt a click? The other end of the spectrum, I think sensational headlines, the clickbaity subject lines. And I think for some spaces, some industries, some processes, that works for if you're really trying to just drive the open rates, but sometimes that doesn't tell or give a reason for the person to click on a substance level. I think I usually try and sit somewhere in the middle, a little bit explanative of what the email is, but a little bit piquing interest. So a question, a comment, it could be, how Audrey healed with EMDR. That could be the subject line, or we could, how EMDR helps. Okay, has a little bit of content in it, but it's suggesting a read versus, heal in 10 days, exclamation point. That's going to feel pretty spammy and sensational and not what you want. Versus the other end of just like how therapy works for you. That might be fine, but it might be a little dry. So just know that you can look at your open rates and your stats there. And sometimes you don't need to change the content. You just need to change the subject line as the entry point for people to read and see these emails. It's pretty typical to only have a 25 to 40% open rate if you're doing this well. They're not going to read every email and you're not going to hit. If you're getting like sub 15%, especially sub 10% open rates, means we're probably doing something wrong, either on a content level or on like a tech stack level with how the emails are being delivered.
Yeah, I'm actually real quick. Would you show what the data looks like on that newsletter? I think you had pulled up in the CRM like some drip elements, and show them the statistics really quick. Guys, this is how you can sort of manage, monitor, and improve your email marketing. And if you are doing email marketing, certainly over to like a list of 300 or 500 people, you're gonna want this data, okay? Because you should be getting clients pretty much every time you send an email. If and this is perfect. This is a great way to look at this stuff. If you don't have this kind of data when you are sending emails, this is telling me that honestly, you just aren't like very serious about the process just yet. You're just kind of leaving it a little to luck. And so if you don't want to leave it to luck, if you want to stop gambling and start marketing, we need some data. And so
Yeah,
this email right here, this is perfect. The type of data you're looking for is the deliverability. So that may tell you if your emails are going to spam, or if you have a bunch of emails that are not validated and they're giving you spoof emails or something. The open rate, like Josh said, 60% is really great. That's telling you that your subject line is hitting well for the people that are getting this email, and it's clicking. And then the click through rate there, that click rate, I mean, 2.5% is great. If you get more, that's telling you that maybe you've got an offer or something really helpful for your audience just right on that email. And so that 3% click rate is really helpful. When you're doing troubleshooting for these kinds of things, there's different reasons why you may be why you may want to look at one element versus another just to kind of get it into KPI. And then try it, right? When you have more and more people going into your list, I mean, you can see here we have, 12 people, 19 people, 20 people at the next step, sort of at each step of the way here. When you have this many people going through and joining your list, you get a ton of data really quick to just make improvements. And then it's kind of set and forget after that, right? You kind of set
yeah,
it. If the subject lines continue to hit well and you have good open rates and the click rates go well, you just kind of leave it until the very end, I guess. And that's how you're really just starting to squeeze the juice from the people who are coming in, build value, provide something helpful. And every step of the way, if you have about 2.5% clicks, you might get 50% of the people engaging in a conversation after 10 emails, you know? So
definitely.
I think about it
I,
like that. Get smart about your tracking and the environment that you're creating for yourself. If you have more than 300 or 500 emails that you're sending, definitely make sure you have some data and that you're putting a little bit of effort towards it. Maybe the first sentence you don't have to worry too much about.
Yeah. I think if you're first just getting started, I think the last place to land here is like, how do you build your list? And that's something that we haven't talked about yet. Number one is just make sure you have the correct privacy and opt-ins on your website. Most of you actually do. I think that's a huge question we get is like, can I use the inquiries or referrals that come through my website? Can I email them? They are opting in on your website. Some therapists will put additional disclosures in their intake paperwork, but you should have some sort of privacy policy and marketing, and that's usually included if you've built a standard. Hey, you're accepting to receive communication from our team about certain stuff. Same if you're running ads like Google or Facebook ads, or they're coming from you from Psych Today with your email. Like those are all steps of opt-ins, meaning that we can email those individuals. As long as you have the proper unsubscribe steps, you're good. People don't want the emails, they can unsubscribe, which is great. And you just have to use HIPAA compliant processes if you're using any like current active clients and customers. And that piece is important. With that, though, in terms of continuing to build your list, you just have to do more that top of the market marketing. We can accelerate it. You could advertise your newsletter or do lead magnets or run more traffic for more ads through Facebook or otherwise. But essentially, all your sources should be going into a single list management software for you to email market to. And so the easy answer for growing your list is just to market more. We could obviously get a lot more contextual with it, but that's the short of it.
Yeah, I think those of you who like the questions we get asked is like, can we do freebies? Yes, do freebies. But ultimately it comes down to like advertising those freebies or getting more people on your site. So top level marketing activities, the things that are going to get people to raise their hand about some kind of pain point that your practice maybe serves. If you guys are more general, don't be afraid to be more general. If you're more specialized, don't be afraid to be more specialized. And I think just my final callback here is that email marketing, it you might get lucky and have 10 people on your list and you get a client from it, but this is again something that you want to have like 100, 200, 500, 1,000, 10,000 people on your list before you're really starting to get clients every time you send an email.
Yeah.
And this is also one of those things that it's better to start sooner rather than later because of the cumulative nature of your list. And if you're like, man, I've been in business for 15 years and I've never tracked my referrals, this might be the time to start tracking your referrals. It doesn't take too much, and you can probably start seeing some benefits in a few months, especially if you have a really good inquiry rate. You know, people calling
Yeah.
you, people emailing you, filling out forms, all very valid ways to get people to move from one place to another. If you just have all phone numbers, you can do text blasts to get people to join your email newsletters. So text the audience that's calling you essentially and just be like, hey, would you like some more information on a regular basis? We'd love to have you on our newsletter.
Yeah.
So great way to move people from one place to another.
I'll leave us with two final comments. Number one is don't do the classic join my newsletter as the call to action anywhere, because that's just gonna be like, cool. Why? You're just asking for my, like, you need to have an offer attached. It's like, weekly wellness insights or weekly something. Like, what's the offer? What are they getting in that email? Parenting tips, co-parenting tips, whatever it is. That's why they're joining, is for the content. So make the call to action about the content if you're going to advertise opt-ins to grow your list. And then number two, just to reaffirm, everyone starts at zero. Every single person starts at a list of zero. And some of you already have a list more than zero because you have current clients and people opting in. That's a great place to start. And let us know if you have questions, need more help. You can go to mytherapyflow.com and look up the CRM stuff if you are in need of a platform to do the function of email marketing.
Best of luck, guys.